Hey. Glad you guys have come on board the old Tasty Tuesday train with Telex and Malt Muser. And speaking of Malt, let me make sure we get his invite sent over. We're going to be doing a couple from the same distillery, something that I don't usually take a look at often, and neither does Eric. He has tried some as I have in the past, but these are new ones to. Well, we've had the American Oak, I believe, previously on the cages. The 21 is going to be a new one for both of us. We haven't taken a look at that one yet, so that'll be fun. Let me. Sorry about the in the face thing here for a second. Trying to get the old link sent off. There we go. How are you guys doing? Hopefully, good. Doing really well. Now that it's finally Tasty Tuesday, it's been a long week. Is this Palmessieri by chance? I'm wondering if it's the Paul, generously Paul that I know, or if it's a different Paul. I'm just curious because if it's Paul M.A., then I know who you are, and I appreciate you coming to the channel, man. If it's a different Paul, either way, I still appreciate you coming to the channel. I know a couple Paul M's, so that's why I'm kind of confused. Hey, good to see you, Icy. Good to see you come back. You must have had a good time the first show on the channel. I'm glad you returned. Cohen, always good to see you in California, man. Yeah, doing well, Daniel. And Tamika, good to see you too. All right, it sounds good to me. We're going to be taking a look at something a bit different than all of us usually gravitate toward. And it's not that I dislike it, it's just not usually my wheelhouse. And that are Lowland whiskey distilleries. This particular Lowland is Auchentoshan. And Auchentoshan is known for quite a bit of a range. They have a couple NASs here and there. They also have some pretty diverse age statements that go from 12. I know they have like an 18 and 21. I don't know if they have much in between, though. I'll have to do another quick look. Good to see you there. Yes, another dram. Good to see you, Chris, as well. Good evening. And yes, the Lowlands. It's a bit different. And one thing that if you are an Irish whiskey drinker, and some of you guys know what I mean, like we're talking Bushmills, Jameson, and then we're talking Middleton, we're talking Redbreast, we're talking Connemara, we're talking, I mean, there's lots of different options out there just for the Irish side. And typically it's triple distilled, and that's where you get a bit of the same formula with this particular distillery. They also do triple distillation. So if you're a big Irish whiskey fan, you've definitely came to the right show because Auchentoshan is a bit reminiscent of that. Hey, good to see you. There's Dram all the way from California as well. Got a couple of Californiites. Californians? What do you guys, are you guys Californites or Californians? Californite would sound a little better, but Californian kind of rolls off the tongue better. I'm just kind of curious. Montreal, different Paul. Yeah, different one, but that's just as good. Yeah, I have a history with a Paul M that I think it's been a long time since I got to talk to him. I think he might be from Wisconsin, but I'm going by memory. It's been a few years since I got to talk to him, but I should touch base and say hey to Paul. He got me into the hobby even more than I already was, and learned a lot from him on tasting and notes and palate and everything. I mean, good guy. So welcome either way. Hope you had a good week. Yeah, pouring my only Auchentoshan, the 3-wood, to drink along. That is my favorite Auchentoshan, I think. If I had to pick one out of all the ones I've tasted to this point, I think that might be my favorite, and I'll go into more detail about that here in a little bit. Glengoyne is aged in the Olins. That's interesting. It kind of makes sense because it is a thinner whiskey, and I usually, when I think about Lowland whiskey, with the exception of Bladnoch, which is we'll get into that later too, they're typically a little on the thinner side. It might be the triple distillation. I'm not sure if that's takes a bit out of the viscosity or how that works, but maybe that's part of the reason why they're a little thinner. This should be funny after drinking a Springbank 12. I can't wait to see how boring their stuff will be. Wow, man. Yeah, yeah, Irish. Yeah, it's a matter of, it's subjective to a degree. I mean, I can definitely say there are guys that prefer that Springbank funk slash intensity. Love the craft. You can't knock the craft of Springbank no matter how you look at it. But on the other side of the coin, there's also the people that like a lighter whiskey that's more into the florals, into the herbs, into the lighter fruit side. Like your Dalwhinnie 15 is a great Highland light whiskey, I'd say. That's kind of when I am looking at the American Oak. That's what I'm kind of going to be comparing it to. Kind of something that's a little more equal. I can't compare it to a Springbank. It's a completely different craft, a completely different audience. It's completely different. We're going to look at it as subjectively as we can. They have some expensive vintage stuff like the 1988. Sipping some cognac at the moment. That sounds good, man. Californians. Okay, that's what I thought. Doesn't Californite sound a little better? Maybe not. I guess Californians probably is probably the best. And across the street is the Highlands. Yeah, that's true. That's right. Glengoyne is distilled in the Highlands. Yeah, that's it's crazy how some of these guys do move the craft around Droughtland and the fires will be reaching soon in Cali. I can imagine. Yeah, I don't see how you guys, between the earthquakes and the fires and the droughts, and you almost have a malt. You almost went to California. There you didn't go.
It's been some time there for sure. But
how's it going? I catch you off guard, didn't I?
I mean, that is your MO, is trying to catch me off guard. So you did a good job this time. Yes, for sure.
How are you, man? The triple distillation. I'm not sure if. Now I'm hearing myself. Oh, it's gone now. Thankfully, that was weird.
What's going on, buddy?
That's pretty good, man. Hey, Juan Quintanilla, good to see you, man.
Juan, what's up, buddy?
I was talking about how I was trying to figure out what you call people from California, and I remember the old Saturday Night Live skit, the Californians or Californians. I can't say it. I'm like, Californite sounds good to me, but I guess it doesn't make sense.
I think blissful might be a way to put it. I don't know. I mean, they're just called blissful people. I don't know. They live in beauty all the time. What can you say?
Wow. This is interesting. Favorite for Andrew is the I introduced, we're going to be looking at some Auchentoshan tonight, and it being the Lowland distillery, and he likes that Elisa, I keep saying Elisa, the Elsa Bay Sweet Smoke 1.2. You and I had a sample of that, I think.
Yeah, we did. Right. The Elisa Bay. Yeah. Telex, I had to on the happy hour, I was drinking a Springbank, and then, so I had to find something that would be like, that would kind of transition the palate. And so, you want to know what I went to get me ready for this? To get me ready for this?
I would have probably picked the Dalwhinnie 15 or something like that. But would you say?
If I had a Dalwhinnie 15, that would have been one of the options. Glengoyne.
Oh, yes.
R12. You know why? Because Glengoyne is like the southernmost Highland considered whiskey there is. And they're like basically in the lowlands. So they're like right there. And so I figured if I'm going to get my palate ready for these two delectable lowland style triple distilled whiskeys, a Glengoyne with its watery kind of placid nature might be as good as any. Although, let me say, I do like the Glengoyne 12. And then this is a good whiskey. The Glengoyne 10, not so much. Glengoyne 12, I'll mess with it.
Well, let's go into this with all subjective manner. We're going to, even though we've both had our 12-year in American Oak and stuff before, we're going to go all new and see how it feels.
It's going to be fun. I mean, so I think that, look, I mean, to kind of set the table for this, Telex. Well, you know what? Before we do that, I would be remiss if I didn't ask. Anything new this week?
Yes, and before I went on, yes, the Bladnock is one of my probably is my favorite Lowland distillery at this point. And I know Malt hasn't tried it with me. I was lucky enough to have the 15-year-old Adela, and if I could get Eric to get his hands on a bottle of that, it's around 110, 120, so it's not cheap. But for a 15-year-old, and I'm not saying it's better than the Balvenie 15 single barrel, but I will say that it can hold its own against it. That tells you something.
Sherry bomb,
huh?
Is it a sherry bomb like the single barrel?
It is. It's not. I wouldn't say it's as good, maybe, but it's right up there where I would love to see a shootout between the two, because I don't think that they would be way far apart.
I mean, those are big words, man. I mean, in the words of Omar Little from The Wire, you come to the king, you best not miss, man. And you're coming for Balvenie, which debatably among many, but for me is like a top echelon distillery. So this sounds like a fight worth having. We should do it.
All I'm saying is, I'm not saying it's better. I'm just thinking it's definitely, if you like the 15 single barrel by Balvenie, I think the 15 Adela by Bladnock is definitely worth a visit, if that makes sense for the money.
No, I'm interested. I mean, I think we should do this. What? I mean, let's not wait for anybody else. I mean, this sounds like a battle we need to have. Maybe we need to have a, kind of like a not just, maybe every once in a while we can mix it up and we need to do a comparison fight in our show. What do you think?
That sounds good. The only tough thing is both of us getting those particular bottles that we're trying to go up against.
I happen to have a nice assortment of Balvenies, up to and including a first fill sherry 15-year-old single barrel, which I would happily put up against your Bladnock Adela. So if you happen to get yourself a bottle of that, Telex, we should,
I do have my eye on they have a 25-year-old that's supposedly pretty good too. So if I can get my hands on both of those, that would be something else, man. Because I think it's one of those distilleries that's very, very underrated and that was my only one I've ever tasted by them, but it was that good where I was like, wow, you gotta give it a try.
Underrated distilleries is an interesting topic. Maybe after we get through our first tasting, I'd love to, maybe we can pick our brains and love to hear some of the things that the distilleries you don't think get quite enough love. And I'd definitely love to hear some of the folks in our chat. So start, letting that marinate a little bit in the back of your heads, y'all. And, after we finish up this first tasting, would love to hear your thoughts on distilleries that, maybe just don't get quite the attention you think they deserve.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pour this first one out.
Let's do it.
Give it a little air. And
I have only got one new. Well, no, I got two new things this week. I'll have much more interesting things to share next week. But this week I did get the ever elusive, ever flippable freak out bourbon of the year, Smoke Wagon, uncut, unchill filtered. I did have a private barrel that I sold. I got the batch 70 of that, and then I also got my hands on an old. No,
I'm still here. I just put you on solo layout for a second there.
Hey, everybody. I also got my hands on. I got to bring it out because it's just too freaking cool. I'm noticing that I'm slowly building a collection of old Glenmorangies. I came across this, an old 15 rare malt.
Nice, man. Geez, look at that bottle.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not very visible, but down here in the corner here, I have a 12-year-old Burgundy wood, Madeira wood, sherry wood, and port wood. These are all from like the late 90s, and then this is from the late mid 90s. So I'm like slowly developing I don't know how this happened, but a bunch of old Glenmorangies. And so I'm keeping my eye out for an old 18 to kind of add to this old Glenmorangie collection. So I got that this week. The Smoke Wagon. And I think that's it.
Nice.
Nothing really new. I've been on keeping the wallet tight these days. But I do have a couple choice things next week, which I'm very eager to share with you, but we'll wait until then.
I got a couple bottles today on the side. Going to be getting some more next month, but I went ahead and I had to get my own bottle of this one. You just went over it not too long ago, the old Glengrane 18.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to pick up I had a 15 cask strength that I enjoyed, and I had the 12, and I thought, you know what, I don't have a nice older bottle of Glengrant, so that's not too much, getting something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I had to pick up the old limited release of the Scorch, so that one is picked up. I've been going through the committee still and enjoying that, and I thought, what the hell, I got to finish the collection.
Yeah, you haven't opened that one yet?
I have not. Neither of these are popped open yet.
Got it. Yeah, the only other thing I got was a tequila, but this is a whiskey show, so we don't need to worry about that. I'll be interested to hear it. We'll have to do a little. At some point, I'd love to do a little revisiting of that with the Scorches.
Yeah, because I've heard mixed. I've heard that the committee reviews went pretty well for them overall. I've heard mixed reviews on this one, so I'm kind of eager to see what. I
hope it's better than the black from last year, because you and I were not fans of that of the limited release black, from what I remember.
It was just, the flavors there. The once you have a committee and you go backwards to the 46%, it's really tough to. Unless it's really damn good, like the Dark Cove, it's really hard to stand up on its own like that. I think
that's true. Like the black limited, and I think if I think back to our video on it, which is 8 months ago now, 9 months ago, it just had no finish.
Exactly.
Yeah. The drum limited release, I actually thought stood up pretty well against the committee, but they were both not great. And I never had the limited release groove. So, that is what it is. But yeah, that'll be fun. I'm glad you got it. I'm still kind of on the lookout for it. It was a weird year with Ardbeg because of they weren't on their normal release schedule because of that Mickey Heads one that they did.
Yeah, the Ardbeg thing, which
yeah,
I've been kind of going back to that bottle. It's kind of growing on me with oxidation. I wish there was a little more rye in it, but I'm not going to be too bitchy about it.
What do you think okay, this is a good question. What would you pay? What is the most you would pay for a bottle of that? Now that you've had it and you've explored it a little bit and it's grown on you or whatever, what is the most you would pay for that? Even if it was just to I don't know, just so you could have it. What would you pay?
I'll be honest with you. I think I went way too far. The retail on it, I think, was around 200, 180 or to 200. I think I shelled out like 280-ish for it, which I thought was a bit steep. I would probably stick around to 220. I'm thinking that's.
I see it well over. I see it at 3, if not a little higher, on secondary markets. But I did find a shop here in Chicago that they have a couple of them on the shelf. They're selling it for 200.
I would definitely pick it up for 180 to 200. I'd say.
I know,
but it's the only reason I
do this. And then I did. I bought 2 Scorches from those. Fuck, I can't. I need to just accept the fact that I'm going to buy it.
The only reason I say get it, because I am an Ardbeg collector. Now, if I wasn't an Ardbeg collector and I'm just going for just the pure taste alone, it is tough to hit that 180, 200 thing because, it's definitely not worth it to me if I'm just going off of pure taste. Then I probably would be lower, like 150, 120-ish, somewhere around there. It's just, it's the rarity. It's the fact that it's Mickey Head's last bottle. There's lots of other reasons why I think it might be worth more. Yeah. But if you're just going by pure taste of a rye Isla whiskey, that's when I'm kind of like, because it's got some rye notes to it. I just wish it had more of like a ginger snap, like more of a heavier, earthy thickness to it than it did.
I felt the same way when you shared. When I had that sample, I was just like, do you like it more or less than the Scorch?
I like it a lot less than the Scorch because
Mhm.
for me, I mean, the weird thing though, when I opened my Scorch bottle and I looked at some other reviews, and even when you were looking at yours, I got a lot of different notes than some people. Like I was getting strawberries and raspberries with the smoke and the barbecue. I was getting a lot of fruit coming at the beginning, and then when I went, and then you did a review about, I guess, 2 or 3 days afterward. So I went back with you to enjoy like a dram just to see if I had the same experience. And the funny thing was, and I don't know if it was like if the vocalization affected my thought patterns or whatever, but I felt like I had a completely different experience the second time I tried it. I was getting more of the lens that I was getting more of the notes that you were getting with you, and it was live. You were doing like a review, and I was sipping along with you, and I was like, wow, he's actually right, but this is nowhere near my experience when I first had it by myself, which is really strange.
Yeah, I mean that's how it happens. At the end of the day, this is just there's so much subjectivity and so many like contingent variables and all that. But it is what it is. I mean, we're always just trying to give an approximate sense of things, and our goal here, as we always say, is just to like share our 2 cents with folks and give you a sense. And you all know your palates better than we do, so if the notes we say make sense to you and you like it or dislike it, then you'll make the decision you need to make. But
yeah, it's one of those weird whiskeys that might change because I have had that experience where certain whiskeys are always consistently the same every time you go back to them. It's certain whiskeys you go back even like a day or two later, and it also depends on what you've ate that day. I've noticed that might affect what you're tasting and smelling. So I try to, on whiskey days, I try not to eat or drink anything that's got like anything strong in it, like garlic or something that could affect my palate. So that's kind of something that I try to be more conscious about. But yeah, I mean, it was funny because it was a completely different experience where it was more chocolate, more white chocolate and stuff like that. With the second go around, I wasn't getting any fruit, which is really weird to me.
yeah.
It happens. All right, let's dive in here, man.
But yeah, with that, we have 2 samples of Auchentoshan. Do you want to give the tail of the tape on Auchentoshan and this first whiskey, and then I will. These are your samples, so I'll dive in.
Sure thing, man. Appreciate it. These guys are, like I said, are Lowlands, triple distilled, kind of reminiscent of an Irish whiskey. Same concept there. 1823 is when they were established. And they've been around and been bought and sold over the years, many times different, ownership, just like most distilleries go through their growing pains and whatnot. But they're fairly well known. I mean, there's not a lot of Lowland distilleries in general. Let me see. You don't happen to know off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just a handful, right? You got Bladnoch, you have Glenkinchie, you have Auchentoshan. Is Rosebank one of them? But Rosebank is like not a whiskey you can get your hands on very.
I've got a filter here. I'm going to sort real fast, and I can actually get them all together here.
Yeah,
I got them actually. There's more than I expected. But yeah, there's it grouped a lot of the ones that, like you said, were closed. A lot of them, like Little Mill, Ladyburn, a lot of those guys are closed.
Yeah, there's not many that are open, right?
The only ones that are active are Bladnoch, Glenkinchie, Auchentoshan, of course, and the new ones. There are Elsa Bay. We've talked about them a bit.
Right.
Daft Mill is a huge, nice Lowland distillery that's doing really well right now. Eden Mill is a new one to keep your eye out on. I've heard bad things about the inaugural, but I've had independent bottlings of Eden Mill that's really good. The SMWS, that type of thing. So I think they're worth a look on the side. King's Barnes is a really good new distillery to keep an eye out on. I've had their stuff; it's really good too. But that's really it. It's just a few. That's kind of strange. I thought there were more than that, but a lot of them are closed. So anyway.
Yeah, it's similar to like Campbelltown. I mean, it's one of these regions where there's just not a lot, and we can debate about like the whole region thing, but in general, like the triple distillation has a lot to do with the Irish influence in that area of Scotland, and yeah, I mean that's we're looking at generally like a lighter in terms of texture whiskey, and so Auchentoshan, and then you said this is the American oak, right?
Yeah, this is the real basic entry level. They do have a 12-year-old that's also in kind of like the beginning stage, and they also have a bartender's malt that you might see. But the American Oak is typically the one that you'll see at a bar, or definitely most liquor stores have this ready available. It is only 40% ABV, so we're on the very beginning. This is definitely not for an advanced whiskey drinker by any means. This is perfect, though, I think, for someone that knows their bourbon to an extent, has never really tried scotch before, definitely has not had any peat or smoke or even sherry, anything like major. They're just looking for like their first scotch. I think this would be a good representation of a good bottle for someone that doesn't want to invest much into getting into this particular scotch hobby and going from there. You know what I mean?
Sure. And so it's 40%, you said, non-age statement?
This is an NAS, and this is a straightforward ex-bourbon cask as well.
Ex-bourbon cask, okay.
It's definitely triple distilled. This is first fill American Oak ex-bourbon barrels, though, so it is first fill on the aged process deal.
Well, there you go, folks. That is the tail of the tape. Do let us know in the chat. Have you had this Auchentoshan? Do you like Auchentoshan in general? Lowland Whiskeys? Get at us. Let's get a good check on. Here is the color. As you said, this is probably not a natural color, but that is the color we're looking at.
Yeah, let me check real fast while you're doing your notes and see if I see anything on chill filtration or coloring.
Yeah, what does the bottle look like?
Sorry about that. Let me.
Okay. American Oak. Okay.
Let me try something here. 1 second.
Yeah, I get a pretty good view of it.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
This is the front and the back. It's not much to it. It's pretty basic. It gives you some notes, and the typical ABV and every single drop, triple distilled kind of stuff. But let me put you back in here. No, nothing about color and chill filtration, and we all know what that means. Most likely is if you don't put it on the bottle.
That's right.
Okay. Go forth, man. Sorry about that.
No, that's good. I just wanted to, make sure we're all set up. Tail of the tape. You guys all got the info. We're diving in here. Tasty Tuesday, the first tasting of the night. Auchentoshan American Oak.
Love it, man.
Whiskey. Okay. So since these were Telex sample, I'm going to be jumping in first with my notes. Okay. So right away, floral and there's a slight ethanol sharpness to it. And by floral, I mean there's a very kind of like, it's a little bit vegetal, it's a little bit like lavender and rose. There's a lot of like floral qualities coming out. You said this is ex-bourbon. There is some hints of vanilla, but I'll tell you, for something that's ex-bourbon, I feel like they're a little bit second fiddle and they're very light. So floral, slight ethanol, there's a bit of honey, like honeycomb, not honeycomb. What the hell am I talking about? Like clover honey. I'm getting some of that. There's a little bit of a bready, almost like yeasty quality to it. Not like brewer's yeast, but there's like almost like a shortbread cookie. And then I would say there's a hint of a spice, and it's very muted, but it's like, I almost want to say it's like slightly ginger. It's slightly maybe allspice. A little bit of earthiness to it. I would say generally this is like it's floral and earthy is what I'm mostly picking up off of it. Going a little deeper. Again, I'm getting more of these kind of like vegetal kind of herbal spices. I mean, we're talking like parsley, maybe hints of butterscotch and toffee, but very subtle.
The only thing I'd add is some citrus. I'm getting a lot of oranges and lemons and
yeah. There's definitely citrus, and I think you're right. It's orange for me. Definitely orange. Orange. It's floral. It's citrus orange. It's got a little bit of this. What was I saying before? Like, yeah, I mean the toffee, not toffee. It's more like butterscotch and light vanilla, but it's in the background. It's kind of muted, along with a little bit of spice. And then there's like a nice. It's very soft. And then that like hint of ethanol. There's just a hint of ethanol, and almost like you ever had one of those vitamins? You know, when you were a kid, those chewable vitamins that you get, they're like very
Flintstones, yeah.
A little bit of that, like this very kind of sharp, tart fruitiness that borders on like Smarties candy or Flintstone vitamins.
And I was with you right there for the clover, honey, and the ginger notes too. Yeah, it's a very nice floral. It's definitely the floral is, I think, the first note I got to, like the marigolds, like you said, the lavender and the
marigold. Yeah, that's better. Marigold is even better than lavender. Yeah, you're right.
But you nailed it with the combination of the florals and the herbs. It's kind of got both going on, and the vegetal notes. It's funny. It's almost like everything that I usually don't gravitate toward in a whiskey. It's got all the polar opposites. It's because there's no smoke, there's no peat, there's no really major fruit other than citrus fruit. There's no sherry. There's no like it's like completely different.
Yeah,
it does have a nice kind of a. Do you ever get like a marshmallow kind of a tone to it at all?
So I can see what you mean by that. It's a little bit like. I mean, and for the bourbon heads in the house, it's a little bit like, you know, what you get off of like a Russell's Reserve or like some of the Wild Turkey stuff, where it's that kind of confectionery, like state fair cotton candy kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
A bit of that.
It kind of it's not as refined as Japanese whiskey by any means, but it does have similar notes to me.
Lychee.
Yeah, lychee, definitely. I think that's where I'm getting that kind of feeling from. Huh, okay.
Yeah. It's a little strawberry, too. So, you know, it has it opens up a little bit. There's some stuff going on here, for sure. Okay.
Sippy time?
Yeah, man. Slanchava. Happy Tasty Tuesday, everybody.
Yep, Tasty Tuesday, guys. That's a bit rough around the edges, isn't it?
My first thought on the first sip was, wow, this is nothing like the nose.
Yeah, I'm the same with you.
Another taste here really quick.
Yeah, it's definitely nosed better than the initial palate, that's for sure.
Okay, second taste. Okay, so here we go. Light on the palate, bitter. There is a bitterness to this, and it isn't citrus bitter or dark chocolate bitter. It's like the worst of both of those fused
astringent. It's astringent to me.
Like sour. There's a sourness. There's a bitterness. A bit of that sweet. It's like almost like artificial sugar, like some kind of bad fruit candy, banana flavored thing. There's a bit of roasted coffee bean, dark roast coffee, a bit of dark chocolate. But all in all, the palate is light in texture. It's bitter sour with a little bit of sweet. Finish is medium, and it kind of evens out. Again, honey, buttered toast.
It's a train wreck, guys. I'm sorry.
This is the nose. You know, some people say you can tell. One of the ways to tell the quality of whiskey is how much the nose translates into the palate and finish. I'm not sure that I'm fully on board with that, but I can
fucking fool you here.
Yeah, I can tell you on this. Like, it's like if this was like the bait and switch for sure. The nose was promising. It seemed like it would have subtle complexity, but boy, when you drink this, it drinks everything like a bitter, unaged, just bad casks, throwaway whiskey. That's what I'm getting here.
Oh man, that's a sad thing because I mean the nose is so promising.
Yeah.
This is the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde of whiskeys to me. It's you think you're going in and Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll, I guess is the good guy, right? He's so nice and he's so pleasant and he's inviting. He's letting you come into his world and he's like,
I'd pour out some good bourbon or some good whiskey or some good scotch for Dr. Jekyll. No doubt about it.
There you go, and you get close to him and you're like, okay, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go all in here, and wow, man, Mr. Hyde is a bitch. It is crazy, astringent. Eric nailed it with the sourness and the bitterness. It's funny. I want to say dark, but it's only because of the sourness and bitter level that it is. It's weird. Yeah. It's like opposite of what it should be.
The bitterness, it's bitter in all the worst ways a bitter could be. And I don't mean a bitter like you have a bitter stout beer or you have like a bitter note in a good whiskey. Like this is like bitterness out of cheapness, not out of like quality. It is like burnt coffee. It's like if you
exactly, you nailed it.
When you smell like a coffee maker that's just like it's overheated, I don't know, some shit like that.
This even has that electrical mechanical taste to it.
That's it. That's what it is, Telex. You nailed it. That's exactly what it is. You know it when you smell it. You know there's no smell like it. It's missing any sense of cohesive body. It has no respect. It doesn't respect itself at all. It hates itself. This is like this is like a 9th grade sophomore suburban white girl's diary right here. It is just a goddamn mess filled with nothing that makes any sense. But it's trying really hard to have passion. And you know when you revisit it in 5 years, you're going to be like, "That's the worst thing I've ever read."
Oh my gosh.
This is awful. This stuff is awful. I'm sorry. You would fool me if you poured me a bottle of like, some shit blend at the bottom of the. I mean, the fact that this is what $35-$40 is embarrassing.
I'm so nervous to go back and look, but I can tell you in 1 second what I exactly paid for this, and I mean, unless we're in the 20s.
My stomach is upset right now.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to put you through the craziness.
Don't blame you, man.
They charge 40 smackers for this. 40. I'm like, no, this is not worth a 40. This is not. 20.
Vodka is more interesting than this.
20 if you're feeling generous, man.
I'm gonna go for a little bit of water, Telex.
Yeah. I hate to put you through the ringer, but maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe it'll tame it.
Through anything, we're here for the people. We want to do something accessible in the first hour. This is a whiskey people see. People may want to buy it. Fuck, I might have bought it in any other time. I just didn't see it, and here you go.
Hold on. You got a good point though, because the water makes a huge difference with this one, if I remember correctly. So we might be in.
I can tell you right now, the nose is now aligning with that flavor. It still has some of that complexity in the nose, but again, the bitterness is starting to come out.
Oh, really?
The sour is starting to show up a little bit. I mean, again, so have you ever had, oh God, and for me to remember the name of this type of, it's like a Christmas candy. It's like this, oh God. It's chocolate covered, but it's got this kind of like crunchy, like light breaded thing inside of it. It's like it's called like somebody
Riesling, like resin.
No, I know what you're thinking of. It's not that. It's like it's. I'm not going to be able to remember. Maybe somebody will know in the chat. But it's like this candy where you bite into it and it's like a crunchy, like just sugary thing, a lot of like little holes in it, and then it's like it's covered in chocolate. Again, I
I
don't
wouldn't.
want to belabor this. I don't want to belabor this because like whatever. It's like called fun candy or like fun some shit like that. It's not angel food, but it's like something in that realm.
I wouldn't do that to my mother-in-law, James. Sorry. Oh
Okay.
man, I'm not sure which one you're talking about. If anyone knows in
Yeah,
the
I mean,
comments,
I
the
look.
candy
I'll try to
sponge,
remember it later. So it's similar
crispy
to that.
crunch,
It's
crispy
similar to that.
crunch, or candy
It's similar to
sponge.
that. It's called like, dude. I'll tell you. I'm gonna remember it in like 3 weeks, and I'm gonna bust it out in the middle of our show.
Well,
So
don't prejudge this one just yet. Add some water. Go through your.
I've done it. Yeah, I'm gonna get into the notes now. So then here's the difference here. Like the note with water, this has toned down a bit of the sweetness. It is still very like lychee and floral, like a Japanese whiskey, as Telex was alluding to earlier. Like it has that lychee tea thing. It has a bit of that tapioca quality to it. It has, but here's the thing: you're detecting more of that bitterness underneath the surface. This is not a traditional vanilla chocolate caramel that you would expect from a bourbon cask at all. This is like it's more on the burnt side. Like things are kind of just like over burned or cooked. You were saying like, we were talking earlier about the overcooked, over brewed coffee, like the second day coffee that you accidentally drank, or the coffee that was put through a paper towel because you ran out of coffee filters, like that kind of thing.
For me, it brought out a lot of the citrus fruit side, where I'm getting like some gumdrops.
Gumdrops, that's a good point. Like those minty gumdrops almost, or like the orange.
Yeah, the orange mint. Yeah, the like a combination of orange and like green minty flavored gumdrops, just kind of crazy.
Totally. Like the worst Mike and Ike's you've had. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. The orange for sure. The only other thing I would mention here is like I don't know how to put this. Chemical sounds too rough, and it's not chemically, but it's like
minerality, maybe
cleaner, like cleaner, like orange citrus pledge or some type of cleaner. Like it has sharp astringency.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a furniture polish meets like a minerality type of thing.
I'll tell you, the nose, I don't like it. The nose was much better neat, in my opinion.
I'm kind of split on it. I agree with you. The nose, like neat, is definitely on a. That's probably the best thing about this whiskey so far is the neat nose. But that's saying something. But the nose to me isn't bad per se, but it is a lot different. To me, it's kind of like a fresh squeezed orange, but with like sugar and that minerality that you were talking about.
See, I'm not even sure I could go to minerality. I think it's more chemical. It's sharper.
Like furniture polish kind of thing.
More like cleaning product.
Like a Mr. Clean kind of.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Pine Sol kind of thing.
Yeah. More like a gin with the botanicals in a gin. They're real dry gin, very sharp. It's like that, but it's not juniper. It's like an orange.
I mean, I am getting kind of like a lemongrass kind of a note. If you don't like lemongrass, you definitely wouldn't like this. That's for sure.
No, you're right. Lemongrass is definitely there. Okay, I'm going to go in for a second tasting here. Better. Oh. Boy, I'll tell you, it landed promising.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is better. It's got a bit more. Oh God. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be bougie, but like I'm just gonna say it. It came like a candied orange, like kind of delicious. There was like a chocolate thing, and then just this bitterness, this sourness, just takes over the palate. And
the initial palate's good, but the final palate is like a train
you're
wreck.
uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable for like 4 or 5 seconds, and then you get a nice little surge of milk chocolate, like almond milk chocolate, like an almond milk chocolate Hershey bar at the end that kind of evens it out. The finish is better with water, in my opinion. It is. It's like an almond chocolate candy bar. Not much else. It's short. It's drying.
Getting a bit of like Yeah, there's not really any spice involved with this. There's nothing to really balance out that. I mean, if it was sweeter, like I do enjoy the regular 12 year a lot more than this one, and I think that the age really helps with this because this definitely tastes so young. It's not funny. It's crazy how young this is. And I'm not a good person at detecting age in a whiskey unless it's like older. I can detect older ages, but I'm not good at detecting young whiskey usually in a whiskey. But this, I can definitely detect it.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's deceiving because that initial palate, he's right. After the water, I was like, oh, I'm getting a little white pepper. It's slight though. We're talking slight because this is only 40 ABV, and I think that's what's really hurting this. It has no room to work. It's like giving like a brilliant artist that's 3 and giving them a pencil and a piece of paper this big to work with, and that's all they have. And say, make perfection, make something great out of this. You just can't. It's like they
Yeah.
tied their hands behind their backs and said, "I'm going to try to make a whiskey."
It's like, this is so weird. So like, here's my like general. Well, I'm gonna wait until final thoughts. Actually, I'll hold back. It's so strange. I mean, I'm actually, I'm happy to jump into final thoughts here.
I can tell he's ready to roll. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so here we go. This is not a good whiskey. Do not buy this. At $40, this is not something you need. However, it's interesting because it is a great benchmark barometer to check yourself on, as you go on your whiskey journey, it becomes very easy to only want older, more matured, better cask stuff and lose sight of the quality of some of the younger whiskeys out there. This whiskey will gut check you on why some of the younger whiskeys are still very good and you enjoy them the way you do. They may not hold a candle to the stuff you're sipping now if you're further in your journey, but it will remind you why you can go back to them and enjoy them. I'm thinking like a Highland Park 12. I'm thinking like, what? I'm thinking like some NAS whiskeys that I could rattle off that I would say would fall in this Highland Park Magnus. So here's the deal. Neat, nose good, palate bad, finish bad. With water, nose not as good, palate not as good, finish way better.
But really short.
It's kind of a mess. It's all over the place. This is not a $40 whiskey. There are innumerable whiskeys at the $40 price point that you should spend your money on. If you are looking for an entry-level single malt Scotch to bring to a party or to introduce somebody to Scotch with, this is not the way to go. This isn't a good transition from bourbon. This is not something that I think will spark joy for somebody who is trying single malt for the first time. This is Johnny Walker Red level in terms of its, this is maybe a tick above Johnny Walker Red. Honestly, I find things in this that I enjoy, particularly with water. I really am liking the finish. It's got a nice chocolate almond thing going that I'm enjoying, and it's actually sticking around a little bit, but everything else that led to this was honestly a mess.
It wasn't worth the journey, was it?
No, it's honestly like it's kind of an embarrassing whiskey for like a single malt distiller with the reputation of Auchentoshan. Do better, Auchentoshan. Do better. 1.75 out of 5 for me on this.
Yeah.
I
know. I hear you, man. It was funny because I was thinking back and I was trying to remember my experience with this one because I had this one pretty early on in my whiskey journey, and even then I was kind of like, something's just not right about this. I really enjoy the 3-wood that they produce. If you do have a chance to try the 3-wood, I would still give it a try. This one though is, like you said, it's a bit of a mess, and there's no way to fix it. That's what's frustrating. They kind of shot themselves in the foot in a few ways. Well, actually 4 ways. And I always kind of go back to my...
How many shots is that?
Four ways, I'll tell you. Going back to my Obi-Wan Kenobi, I consider Roy Aquavite kind of like my Obi-Wan, where I learned the big four. The age statement, you got to have it. It's not there. The ABV, 40%, it's not there. There's 2 strikes. The coloring and the chill filtering are the last 2. And they just don't do it right, and that's where you're starting off with no limbs. You're a body that was produced, and you don't have any legs, and you don't have any arms. So what are you going to do? You know, it's really frustrating when you're starting out like that. Then that promising nose is so deceptive, because it's like, I would consider the nose as a 3.5 just based on the nose by itself neat.
Totally.
But when you, after that, you got to tick off all this stuff because of the minerality, the astringent nature, the chemical feeling you get, the lack of ex-bourbon notes that you're looking for. I mean, this is supposed to be first fill. And I know I prefaced this saying that this might be a good entry level to a whiskey a person, but I'd definitely take that back. There's just no way, because for $40 you could get a hell of a lot better whiskey.
Oh yeah.
Than this. And this tastes not as good as I remember it being, and I think that's why I'm definitely knocking it down. I mean, I would have gave it a 2.5 maybe before, and now, even being very generous, I'm thinking 2 is as high as I could go on a whiskey like this. Because I mean, even if it was $20, I would rather get a Drambuie, if you know what I'm talking about, than something like this.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, and honestly, Telex, as you talked, I'm telling you, the best thing that I found in this whiskey is with water, and the finish with water is the best thing I found in this whiskey.
Yeah.
This is just not good, y'all. I mean, it's deserving of the condemnation we're giving it.
Yeah, I hate to say. I mean, I have nothing against Auchentoshan. I'm sure that they're a great, as far as it being a company, and they might treat their workers very well, and they might do everything, you know, by the book and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to being a respected crafter of whiskey, you got to have some age. You got to have a good ABV. You got to no chill filtration and no coloring. That's just the basics. And if you can't get that shit right, then nope.
Yeah, I agree with you, man.
He said no to the Drambuie too.
I mean, look, the other thing I was trying to think of here, Telex, was like, you know, does this have mixer quality?
Yeah, I was joking.
And then I thought about this.
And guys, the Drambuie like comparison, I was completely joking. I agree, it's horrible. It's a nightmare. That's the reason I was even bringing it up with this.
Yeah,
and that's the only thing.
At least has some utility value if you're making specific cocktails. This, I'm not sure. You know, I was thinking like, okay, maybe this would stand up well in a cocktail. Like, you know, I'm a big fan of a Godfather. It's one of my favorite cocktails. Godfather is like 3 parts blended Scotch, or 3 parts Scotch whiskey, 1 part Disaronno, or like, you know, almond liqueur.
Oh, okay. I never tried that before. I never tried the Disaronno, but Claire Forlani, she used to do the commercials for them. Oh my God, she was like, when I was, you know, teenager.
Yes.
Big fan.
The Tawny Fatane of advertising liqueurs. I'm a big fan of that, but I'll tell you this much right now. I would take a bottle, and my go-to Scotch whiskey for cocktails is Cutty Sark Prohibition Edition.
Yeah.
50% ABV. It's $10 to $15 cheaper than this. Godfather is one of my favorite cocktails, and I'll tell you, that puts this to shame. It almost makes me want to drop the score further, but I'll sit at 175. I'll be honest, this is a drain pour, Telex. This is a drain pour.
It's to me, I don't know if I would go that far, but I'm close with you. I'm saying this is a borderline drain pour for me.
Yeah.
I if I'm in the mood for some, it's just I'm gonna have a little bit more just before I completely like tank it. But I don't even know if I would waste Coke with this. That's how bad it honestly is. I mean, a good Coca-Cola Classic is a pretty good drink by itself if you think about it.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I think it's better with water. It just because you get more chocolate, but that's it. I mean, so I think, look, you and I are like, we've had some single malt in our day, but in the interest of like folks who tune in for the first hour who are like looking for accessible stuff, I mean, what would you recommend as an alternative to something like this for somebody who wants to get a cheap bottle of scotch that's going to taste good? I would recommend, I mean, for example, Cutty Sark Prohibition Edition is a blended scotch. You're looking at around 25, 35 max for that. It is similar in flavor profile description wise, and I think is light years better than this. It's also 50% ABV. I mean, that is an alternative to look at when facing something like this. Even a Glenlivet 12, a Glenfiddich 12. I mean, clearly in the same price range, better than this.
Yeah.
If you spend a few more bucks, Highland Park 12.
How about the Naked Grouse? I think that's a really good whiskey.
Yeah, I thought about that. The Naked Grouse is much more sherry, though. I mean, the Naked Grouse is all sherry, but like I would even venture to say, let's be real. I mean, like not a Dealer's White Label, but like.
Yeah, I honestly, if I went to a wedding actually in Long Island, and I was lucky enough where they had Dewar's, and they were, so it was hot that day, and I was like, you know what, Dewar's with a couple little, ice chips is not a bad idea, for hanging out and sipping, and it was actually pleasant, and it was actually better than this.
Yeah, I mean, shit, we've all been on an airplane and sucked Dewar's down,
Exactly.
I mean, okay, I would say this is better than Johnny Walker Red, but for the price, Johnny Walker Black definitely better than this. But that's smoky. That's very smoky. But
the red. This reminds me a lot of the Johnny Walker Red. It really does. I have to say.
This is the Johnny Walker Red of single malts.
I mean, so definitely out of all the ones I've had, I do think that's a really good comparison. I mean, I know it sounds like we're bashing Auchentoshan. It's not the case, because I do love. If you ever have a chance to try the 3-wood, I think that's a well done, basic.
The other one that I would recommend besides Cutty Sark Prohibition Edition is at this price range, we're talking what, 30 to 40 bucks.
$40.
Highland Park Magnus.
Yeah, that's true. Magnus is definitely a step up at the above.
Magnus blows the doors off this. If you want a cheap single malt, it blows the doors off this with you.
I know a good cheap one. We haven't done it yet. We're going to be doing it soon, and so you'll get a chance to tell me if I'm wrong. But I think after oxidation, the Speyburn 10 is actually a well done, cheap, $30 to $40 entry level 10-year whiskeys that will. I didn't like it at first when I first tapped it, but after a little bit of oxidation, I actually was like, this is better than I thought it was going to be. So it'll be one to see, what you think of in comparison to that one, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm looking at Glenkinchie 12 is an option. It's another Lowland, but it's very similar without the bitterness. So I would say the Glenkinchie 12 might be something to pick up. That's the same price.
Glenkinchie 12 is much better than this.
Yeah, I'd say that's one that I would much push someone toward trying than this one by far.
Yeah.
And even the Auchentoshan 12 is a similar price point.
This is maybe $10 more max. Yeah.
I don't even. I'm looking to see. Wow, they're charging $60 for that. That's crazy. Never mind. If they're charging $60 for an Auchentoshan 12, man, that is just nonsense. I take it back. I mean, the 3-wood they charge $65 for. That's the one that I would probably, but it's even overpriced for what it is.
I mean, a Kilkerran 12 for that price. Are you kidding me?
I mean, if the 3-wood was $40 to $50, I'd say go for it. But at $67, $65, it's just
no.
It's just too much for a Lowland. I mean, I'm just not a big fan of Lowland distilleries, I guess.
I would consider Oban Little Bay.
Yeah, the Oban Little Bay would be something I would get beforehand, and I'm not even a big fan of the Oban series because it does remind me a lot of some of the Lowland stuff, but because it does have florals but it doesn't have the bitterness. That's what I appreciate about Oban. It might have florals and herbals and things like that, but they don't give you Mr. Clean, like Drano, cleaner in their whiskey either.
Yeah. All right, Cal. Well, there you have it. So, Auchentoshan American Oak is, we've given some alternatives. It is a 2 out of 5 from Telex, 175 out of 5 from Malt Muser. We are going to transition into a much different Auchentoshan in just a few minutes with the Auchentoshan 21 in the second hour.
I hope so.
If you haven't yet, take a sec, smash that thumbs up. If you haven't subbed yet, we would love to have you join the community. Give Telex a sub, and if you want to sub to Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews, please do. Telex, I'm going to take a brief intermission and get some water, and then when we get back, we can dive into that conversation about distilleries we think are underrated, and then I will, and then we'll get into the Auchentoshan 21.
Sounds good to me, man. I'll see you in a second.
I'll be back.
All right, let me get back in here. 1 second, guys. There we go. I'm actually learning the software, believe it or not. Yeah, that was a bit different than I expected it. I mean, I knew it was going to be rough. I knew it was going to be rough from my memory, but it's been like 3 or 4 years since I had it. Now it's like, wow. Once you go in, especially if you've got the chance to get some 18, 21-year-old whiskeys and even some like cast strength stuff at even younger ages. If you can get that kind of whiskey and then you go back to something like this, it's like it completely screws with your head because you're like, wow, how in the world did I even enjoy this at all? It's so different. But, it does make it, I mean, I think experience makes a huge difference with what one might, judge something. So you got to keep that into account too when we're going through the emotions on this. But yeah, I mean, like we said though, some of those whiskeys we mentioned for the same price, it's so much a better deal to go to. Is excellent by itself. Yeah, I agree. It's good, but not a cheap intro. That's true. That's the problem with that whiskey. I think it's worth more of a 50 to 60. And if they're charging 65 for that, man, I don't know. It's solid for $30. That's my go-to, I'd say. Naked Grouse soon is going to be labeled as the Naked Malt. Yeah. Yeah. She should be insulted to be mentioned in the same breath as Auchentoshan, and she's from the UK. She was cute. Hell yeah, she was. That's why she was my favorite back in the day. Oh lordy. Okay. Agreed. She attacked. Looking, just watched episodes of 5.0. I didn't watch that show. Thank God. I remember her from the 90s, and I'll just keep it that way. Naked Grouse is similar to Monkey Shoulder, but just a little bit. Yeah, I'd say Monkey Shoulder is another one of those that, but that's a blend too of Kinenvy, which we should take a look at solely because it's actually pretty good on its own. 17 and 23 year. We'll talk about that later at some point. It also has 2 other ones, Balvenie, and what was the other one? It was Balvenie, Kinenvy, and one more. I want to say maybe Glenmorangie, but I don't think that was it. No, they're not owned by those. What is that? I remember it was a 3-way blend of Kinenvy. Was it Mortlock? No, I don't think it was anything. Who owns Kinenvy? That would give me that's William Grant and Sons. Okay, let me see something here. I can't get my damn cursor back. Here we go. All right, so we got Kinenvy is William Grant. Who owns Balvenie? Is that also the same guys, perhaps? Balvenie. Yes, William Grant. Okay, I just got to find one more William Grant, and I'll know who it is. Grant. This one probably already printed. Glenfiddich is probably it. Let's take a quick look. Timothy might be the winner. I wish I had something to give you if it's right. Glenfiddich is the correct answer. Yes. Good job, man. I wish this was a one of those fancy quiz show things where I had something to give away. You would have won. But yeah, I mean, between Glenfiddich, Balvenie, and Kinenvy blend, I mean, it's good, but I don't know. You can only have, and Dram was there too. You can only have so much of that. Jane Walker 10-year limited edition is 28. Kind of solid, but it was a limited edition. Was it really different than the regular stuff, or was that was it different than the typical Johnny Walker 10? Or was it a one-off, or was it a true like limited release where it was a completely different whiskey? I'm just curious because I just don't follow them really that close, so that's why I'm not really sure. The price is up on your top shelf, bro. Yeah, no, I hear you there, man. The funny thing is, some of those are empty, so that's the bad thing. You could get an empty can. How about that? Yes, we're going back to Mrs. Florley. Anybody else tried the American Oak from Auchentoshan? And let me know what you guys think of any of the. Have you had any of the Auchentoshan stuff? We're about to have a little fun with the old 21 year. Welcome back there.
Greetings.
Greetings. I poured mine a little while ago. Hopefully you had a little time to pour yours.
Yep. I got mine sitting in the glass right here.
Cool. You were talking about some of the underrated distilleries, right?
Oh, yeah. So, we this came up a little earlier in the show tonight. And, yeah, I'd be curious, Telex, like, I think, look, we all know the distilleries we think are overrated. I think everybody's got their list of distilleries they think get way more attention than they deserve, and that's driven so primarily by like the business side of things and marketing and all that. But what about some distilleries, single malt? I mean, we're talking Scotch here. Distilleries you think maybe should be on people's radar that potentially aren't. And we don't got to go too deep in it, but if you got any that come to mind, and I'd love to hear from folks in the chat, if folks have stuff that distilleries that they've had a couple drinks from that they think like, man, people really need to pay more attention to this distillery. They're making really good stuff. I'd be really curious to hear it. I think some people dropping Macallan in there, but I don't know.
They're definitely, I think, a little. I don't know. They lost their mind or something.
Yeah, I'd say Macallan might fall on the other side of that spectrum, but that's just me. And to each his own.
Let me find my little deal here. I'll give you a quick rundown. I did get a bottle of Ardmore, and it's a distillery bottle. It's a 20-year, and I was actually impressed by it initially, so that one might be something to look for down the road. But as far as new stuff, Aaron is definitely, I think, underrated by far compared to the Dalmores and the Macallans and all that.
Yeah, big time. I'm 100% with you.
Also, Ben Nevis. I mean, Ben Nevis is one of those I think that's underrated, but they really don't have the product out there to really do much. That's the problem. They were recently bought out by a Japanese distillery, Nika, so that makes it a little more complicated as well.
So I was going to say, I thought about Ben Nevis because I've had some like Single Cask Nation, Ben Nevis and others. And I was thinking that too, but I held back for the same reason that wouldn't be on my list. And that's mostly because like they just don't have a core range or an accessibility level that I think is easy enough for people to find. I mean, I think it definitely fits the bill. Like it could be a whiskey that people seek out in independent bottlings and stuff, but they just don't have, you can't go out and to the store and find a Ben Nevis 10 and a Ben Nevis 15 and all that stuff.
That's the major issue with those guys. And the two good ones, I'd say Craigellachie and Edgerdour are really underrated good distilleries.
Craigellachie, interesting. Okay. So
Edgerdour.
Edgerdour I'm with you on. The problem with Edgerdour though is like so much of the best stuff you can get in the Edgerdour line or the Balakin line. Now Edgerdour is interesting because they're actually owned by an independent distiller, not Gordon MacPhail. I'm sorry, Signatory.
Signatory, yeah.
Yeah. Is that you got to get it overseas. But still, even though that said, I think like, the Caledonia and stuff. I mean, these are whiskeys people should buy. One of the ones that I would offer up is Ben Romick. I think Ben Romick is one of these distilleries that I'm not sure that like they don't get a ton of attention necessarily. They did just go through an unfortunate rebranding, although their previous branding wasn't great either.
Yeah.
but like I think Ben Romick punches way above its weight, and a lot of their stuff is always first fill. It's they're freaking delicious.
That's
I'm a big fan. They do all their stuff maltings in house.
how about Glencadam? I'd say they're pretty underrated too.
Glencadam, definitely. I would put Glencadam on the list. Yeah, Glencadam, Ben Romick, Aaron, definitely Edradour is up there. Yeah, I mean, those are some distilleries I think that like people, generally, and again, there are things that I wasn't paying attention to when I first got on my journey. And you slowly hear about and pick up on, and you take a gamble on something, and you end up with a good bottle. But we'd love to see what are we seeing in the chat.
And I hate to say it, but and I know people are going to be like, "What?" But if you think about it, one of the most underrated distilleries for what they truly do, the quality of product they have, the variety of product they have, because they have two other names that they control, is really Springbank. I mean, Springbank is known to whiskey drinkers, but Springbank is not known to the Macallan, Balvenie, Glenlivet, Glenfiddich people out there. And I think if they actually knew them, if they took the money they spent, like on a Glenlivet 18, for example, a couple $100, and they got themselves a Springbank 12 cask strength, I wonder if they would step back and think, you know what? This is actually a much better product for the same money, even though it's not a known distillery as much as this one.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's an argument for sure. I mean, I'm seeing a couple in here also, Telex, that I think we should mention. Ben Demon Hunter mentions Wolfburn.
Yeah, for a new distillery, I haven't tried their stuff. They have some numbered bottles that I have my eye on. Like they have like a 459. There's like an 80 something. They have like numbered bottles. I'd be interested in getting one of those for us.
Blair Athol. Page mentions. So Ben Demon Hunter says Old Pulteney.
Annoch, definitely
middle of the pack. I think he's right. Annoch. Cohen says Annoch definitely. Yeah, Annoch. I would definitely put on there.
Well, they might sell it in the UK, but I'm talking about American. I don't think they sell nearly as much American whiskey as they do over in Europe. And I agree with Stephen Connor, Ben Nevis. If they just have to find a way to get the product out there. I want to get like a 10. I want to see at least a 12, 15, 18, 21 that's readily available. And Tobermory for sure.
Yeah, Tobermory. Yeah, that's a good one. I know somebody mentioned Lechag. Tobermory, I think. Now, like, the Tobermory 12 that we did a couple weeks ago, it was okay. The Tobermory 21 we did was really tasty.
Yeah, their old whiskey, I think, is really solid. Even the non-peated stuff, if it's old and aged. But yeah, the Lechag stuff, even at 10 years, is phenomenally good. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, these are some good ones. I'm trying to think if there's anything. I mean, Glen Scotia.
Yeah, they're
definitely underrated. They're probably a little underrated. I mean, I guess we could probably throw Glen Scotia on the pile.
And as far as like new distilleries, because someone did mention Wolfburn, Torvig's already getting some press. We all know Daft Mill. We all know Ardent and Maturin and King's Barnes and Ardnaho and some of those guys. Lag is one that is done by Aaron. It's a new distillery, and I can't remember why they decided to do this Lag thing as well. Do you know anything about the Lag, the new stuff from Aaron, by chance?
Not enough.
If anybody knows about Lag, LAGG, why they are doing another distillery, and this is owned by Aaron themselves, and it's also an island distillery. I'm just wondering, why did they decide to do that?
Yeah. So one other that I would mention, Telex, and I'd be curious what you think about this one. I'm not sure. Loch Lomond.
Loch Lomond and I have a iffy history because
I don't know if it's underrated, but like
I just never was a huge fan because I got a lot of soapy notes from their 12-year first like regular release that I was just not a fan of all of it. And they do have great prices, and I did like the Inchmirren, which is their peated.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it's I don't know. That's a tough one, man. I need to have more Luck Loman before I make a judgment, I think, on them.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff coming in the chat here. Paul M says, what about Glengoyne? I might actually argue the opposite with Glengoyne personally, but yeah, Stephen Connor says Glen Scotia. Feder Karen says Andrew Page.
I never tried. That is on my radar. I've had my eye on a 23-year-old from Feder Karen that I'm trying to get us. It's on my radar. I never had any of their whiskey other than that one that's called the Fior. It's Fior. And that was just kind of one of those in passing. Wasn't a memorable whiskey, but I'd be happy to try some other ones. Yeah, Inchmere is local, man. That's right. It's peated branch off.
The Inchmere is the peated Lochloman, right?
Yeah, the Inchmere is the peated Loch Lomond, but the lag is. I'm kind of confused because I know they have the Machromore, which is the Machriemoor, and that's peated, right?
Yeah, that's the heavily peated one. Yeah. So
why would they? Maybe they decide to try to do like more of a. Because the Machromore had Aaron's name prominently on the bottle. Maybe they're just doing like a Springbank where they're going to separate the brand names where it's easier to determine what you're getting, possibly.
What do you think about Deanston? Are they underrated or are they overrated? Or are they kind of right where they belong?
I think recently, due to folks like Roy Aquavite and myself and you and other people that have been trying a lot of different Deanstons, I think they're just now getting the right coverage, if that makes sense. I don't think they're over or under. I think they're kind of like right. I mean, they're under in the total population by far, but as far as like whiskey people knowing about their craft and knowing they have good stuff and shelling out the money for it, I think they're probably selling pretty well.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you. Like the thing about Deanston for me is Deanston reminds me a lot of my experience with Kilhoman in that they're very hit and miss. Like I feel like sometimes they really have something amazing, and then I have another expression and I'm like, this is not all that interesting. I'm kind of all over the place. Like Glenglass, that's an interesting one.
Have you had a chance to try one of those yet?
The only one that I've had is I think it's not the Torfa. I had the Evolution.
Oh, okay.
Or the Revival. I don't remember which one it was. It was okay. Yeah.
It probably was the Evolution because I'll be honest with you. When I had the Evolution, I was kind of like, like you were. But if you ever get a chance to try the Torfa, I would definitely, take someone up for a sample of that one because I had my own bottle of it. It's long gone, but it was a memorable, good peated offering that surprised me. I will say.
Yeah. One other that I'll throw out there, and again, I think this one is debatable, similar to Glen Scotia, and Deanston is Tamdhu.
Oh yeah, I'd say they're underrated as far as like their batches are always consistently good. The 15-year-old sherry bomb is great. Their Debilia Dram is a spice bomb that's out of this world. If you ever get a chance to try it, I'd say Tamdhu is a pretty good one.
Fast strength ones are just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, batch 1, 2. I was lucky enough to have 1, 2, and 3 actually. I think. Nice. And I know 1 and 2 were out.
2, 4, and 5. So we'll talk about those soon. The 5 blew my mind.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I think it's the best. I think it blows Aberlour Abuna out of the water. I mean, we'll save our overrated distillery conversation for another day. But I might have just mentioned one that I think might be on that list. Yeah,
I think I might agree with them on that one too.
Yeah, I mean. Do they have anything worth drinking outside their Abuna? I don't know. Anyway.
That's a good question, actually. Searching how we did with the search for the good Jura, we'll have to do a search for the good Aberlour.
Seriously.
Outside of the Abuna.
Anyways, so we got another. So this is fun. I mean, yeah, folks, keep sharing in the chat. I mean, this is a rich conversation. I mean, I think a lot of the distilleries that have come up in this little chat here are like, especially for folks who maybe not haven't been thinking of them. I mean, all of these are distilleries I think are worth checking out stuff in their core range. I mean, God, a couple of these in particular, God, Anok, geez, I mean, Tamdu, Aaron, like my God, these are good ones. Tobermory, yeah. But we got another Auchentoshan to talk about, don't we?
Yes, indeed, and hopefully this will be a bit of a bump up for the experience because the money is definitely bumping up on this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, what are we looking at here, Telex?
Let's pop open we've had it poured out for a while because we always get your aged stuff to sit out for a bit before you dive into the nose. I mean, it is always good to have that initial sneak peek, but before you really judge a whiskey, please take your time with it, guys. This is a 21-year-old, so great age statement right off the bat. A little bit of a bump, but not much on the ABV. We're talking 43%, so at least it's not 40, thank God. And we're also bumping up on the cask type. It's ex-bourbon and also ex-sherry on this one. So that's kind of a neat little bonus. The only thing that I'm a bit nervous about, and I think I might have to say it is what it is we're still dealing with chill filtration and coloring, possibly.
Yeah.
It's not known on the box. Let me do a quick search outside here 1 second and see if I can.
I'd also be curious while you're looking, like, what does a bottle of this, kind of run on average?
I was lucky to get it for a flat 200. It's not cheap.
Oh, that's not bad.
But it's not crazy priced.
Yeah, 21-year-old whiskey. I mean, Christ, how many 21-year-olds can you find for $200 these days?
I think the thing also to take into account is your when you do look at the age statement, if what I've noticed over time is if 1 second, if I see a great deal on an older whiskey, no matter if it's independent or if it's a distillery bottle, always take a look at the ABV because that's where they really get you a lot of the times. I've noticed with some of these things because there are older whiskeys that can easily be a high ABV. So just because it's 21 years does not mean it has to be 43%. I've seen some great whiskeys, Oban 21 cask strength, for example. That's got a great ABV on it. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg, but it's still probably a decent whiskey, I imagine. I'm just looking for... this has definitely got coloring in it. I've verified from a source that it is coloring. Chill filtering is a lot harder to get if they don't, because that's not something they have to disclose. But with it being 43%, unfortunately, I'm suspecting some chill filtration here.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. I mean, this sounds like all the hallmarks of the Glengoyne 21, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Not the color on those, but yeah.
Pretty much. Okay. At least we've got a more interesting cask and definitely a more interesting age, and a little bit of a bump of the ABV. So hopefully we'll get out of the doghouse maybe on this one.
Well,
Eric's probably thinking, "What the hell are you sending me, man?"
No, I'm not thinking that. I mean, we gotta give everything its day in court. I mean, we are humble malt aficionados or something, right?
As reviewers, we do have to do some of the rough stuff too, guys. That's the thing you got to take into account, because there are people out there that see these whiskeys and they're thinking, "Man, should I shell out $200 for this?" It's a great price.
If I could have watched my own reviews or your reviews or so many other reviews, and I'd known all this stuff was out there before I made some purchases in my earlier days, especially even nowadays, every once in a while, I would, I would have felt like a better person for it. So, I hope it's of some benefit. But thank you for the tale of the tape on this Telex. This is what we're looking at. Much darker than the what was it? The American garbage, the American Oak, American sewage system. I don't know what it was. Nice legs on it. It's real sticky. Yeah, there we go. Auchentoshan 21. Okay. So, much more subtle, quiet nose than the other one. I get some nice, again, honey. There's some kind of bready qualities to it, some herbal quality, or slight florals again. Much deeper though. Like I'm picking up more of the sherry.
I'm also getting like a lot of more of the bourbon cask
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Butterscotch. There's vanilla, but behind it there's really nice kind of medium balanced red fruit, like sort of dry red fruit, but sort of fresh. Again, we're looking at a higher age statement, so like time in that sherry cask, oxidization with sherry goes from fresh to dry. So especially if you're drinking an NAS whiskey that is sherry, you'll notice how old the whiskey actually is by how one of the ways you can tell some of it is like how much the sherry notes are fresh or dry. It's a nice kind of in the middle ground.
Are you getting like a cedar type of wood kind of a note? I love that woody note that's in there.
Definitely. Well put.
It's got a bit of a bite, like a little bit of cinnamon or something there too.
Yeah, it's more like cinnamon, like red hot candy. I mean, it's a little sharpness to it and a little sweetness to it. It's not just that dry powder. Also picking up the honey, still a little bit, and apple.
Yeah, this has got a lot more apple on it than that. Thank God. I don't like a whiskey that's straightforward citrus usually. I like a nice balance. If you're going to give me citrus, give me some other fruits to kind of balance that acidic nature to it. This has definitely got a more rounded nose.
Yeah, there's some orange too, but again, yeah, it's not citric at all. This is a very, like, what I guess I would describe it as sweet, slightly bitter, and like very relaxed, mellow whiskey. This smells like a nice kind of relaxed sipper.
I'm not getting as much herbals or vegetal notes as I was on that first one too.
I'm still getting the earthiness and a little bit of the vegetal, but not the like spicy. Well, it wasn't spicy, but not the like bitter herb.
Yeah, that chemical kind of smell you were getting too. Yeah,
not getting that at all. It's been replaced much more by like peach, orange, some like vanilla, butterscotch.
All right.
I'm interested. All right, well, let's do it.
Lunch, guys. Tasty Tuesday. Okay.
So you remember what happened last time when like the nose was really promising, and then we went in for the taste, and it was like, what the fuck?
Right.
I gotta say, I am still getting a. You know what? I'm not gonna say it yet. Hang on. I am still okay. Second taste. I am still getting a measurable bitterness in this whiskey. It is similar to the other. It's like roasted, very dark roasted coffee or dark chocolate. There's a spice hit, like a chili pepper that is just, it kind of shatters the development of this to me a little bit. Like, it arrives kind of warm, medium mouthfeel, orange, kind of middling, and then I get this dry, dark chocolate roasted coffee, and then a big hit of chili powder. From there, though, I don't know. And from there, it kind of, again, it goes into medium finish, malted milk balls, vanilla, caramel, slight orange, slight anise.
Getting like
There's something else too that I'm sorry to cut you off. There's something like mealy, like I don't know if you've ever had. Well, like cantaloupe. I'm not saying it's sweet like cantaloupe, but like the aftertaste of like when you're eating cantaloupe by the rind, and it's kind of not as sweet. It's kind of like this like weird melon, like not sweet but not bitter flavor.
Yeah,
that in this.
Yeah, it's this is a tough one for me. I'm getting some nice apple notes and some sweet, like the cinnamon stick kind of things going on. Yeah, one thing I do like about this is I'm talking about the things I like first, is like the mouth feels nice and kind of oily. It's got a kind of a nice mouth coat to it.
Yep.
But thankfully, I mean, I do get, this does have what I would consider an over roasted coffee, over roasted, like you were saying,
Yeah.
overcooked burnt toast or something going on, like aftertaste.
That seems to be their style, man. It just seems to be their style.
With this one, I enjoy it more because I am getting a lot more sweetness out of this one. So between the sweetness and the spice, that over roasting note is for me balancing it a little bit more, where I'm getting more of a mocha with a hazelnut coffee kind of thing going on, but it is still a little rough around the edges.
Surprisingly so. Like the difference between this and the one that we just had is not as wide as I thought it would be. It's there, but you know what?
Uh-oh.
There's like some white chocolate too. You know what? I gotta go for water.
Yeah.
You said 43% on this?
Yeah, 43.
I'm gonna do 3 drops. I'm convinced that this is gonna really shine with 3 drops, because what I detected in that American Oak, I'm feeling like the promise was there. I'm feeling like this is gonna really show itself now. I gotta say, meat.
I do enjoy the apple cinnamon. In the millioness that you were talking about, I am getting like a lot of cereal notes from it, like a lot of like oat, kind of, not oat, but like
oh no, that's a good point. Like oatmeal,
yeah, like an oaty cereal kind of a feel. It does have that kind of cream of wheat thing going on. I might have a couple of drops too to see. Has anyone ever had has anyone ever tried the Auchentoshan 21? I'm just curious.
The nose is, again, quite balanced and pleasant. Orange, chocolate, a little bit of spice, the cinnamon, the apple cinnamon. You said apple cinnamon. I think we were talking earlier about like cinnamon red hots. It's much more of an apple cinnamon now with water.
Yeah.
Quite nice nose. Quite nice.
Oh, yeah. Might even get a little mint or basil in the nose, too. That's wild. Huh.
Okay. There it is. Yeah, there it is. Water. 3 drops. Honestly, it needs like 1 more. Yeah. It calms that bitterness. And again, a bitterness is not bad to me per se. The problem with the bitterness on this is that it's like, it's not bitter in a singular way. It's not like just bitter chocolate. It's like just bitter all around. The thing here is that it's just chocolate in this one, not like the American Oak. It was everything. And I feel like nice oily development. It develops pretty nice. Orange. There's some nice sweet fruit, apple. Like it's like a Honeycrisp apple. Then you get this hit of dark chocolate, but it's unlike in the other one where it was just mixed with this citric bitterness that was just beyond enjoyment. Here, it's more balanced. The orange, tangerine kind of thing is there. White chocolate, hazelnut.
Ooh. I do like the spice level on it. It's a little more spicier than I thought it was going to be, I will say. I wouldn't go as far as a spice bomb or anything like that. But
no.
It's definitely got a lot of cinnamon going on, though.
A lot of cinnamon, yeah. Interesting that like the sherry seems so second fiddle here.
Exactly, yeah. I was thinking the same thing. Like, other than that cinnamon note, It's not. I mean, there's some nice apple type fruit going on, but there's no like stewed fruit. There's no cherries or black cherries or
Right.
currants or there's no plums to speak of. There's no.
I mean, you'd have had me fooled if you told me this was straight bourbon cask, I would have believed you.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's like they're with this bottle. It's frustrating because they're trying a lot harder, but they're still fucking it up. It's like, how do you miss the mark on X bourbon and X sherry in 21 years? The ABV is a little bit of an issue. It could be 46, 48, but do you think the craft of the whiskey with the coloring and chill filtering is just decimating it to this extent, or do you think it's something else?
It's casks. No, I think it's the cask. The coloring and the chill filtration will never have do this much to it. I'm sorry. Like, again, the development, it arrives sweet and then it goes immediately into like dark chocolate, white chocolate, and like coffee, albeit more balanced than the American Oak, but it goes right into that and then it just rides that the entire time. There's an oakiness to it that, like, again, it's chocolatier. I mean, this is, fuck, man. I mean, if I was going to pour this next to you with a glass of Glenmorangie Signet, the resemblance, no, just listen, hear me out. The resemblance in terms of its chocolatiness are uncanny.
Yes, it is very similar to that.
Only, like, that's what's going on here. It's chocolate. Bitter chocolate, milk chocolate, white chocolate, fucking, chocolate, whatever. Fucking vanilla chocolate, fucking fudge chocolate, grandma's fudge, whatever.
Cinnamon chocolate, baby.
Cinnamon chocolate.
You're funny, man.
I'm just saying, like, man, I did the Glenmorangie Signet on my happy hour last week, and I was loving it because it was so, like, like, the chocolate was dominant, but the other things complemented so well. The sherry, I feel like, is barely doing anything here other than making it dry.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is funny. I was trying to think of what could you compare this to give a better idea of what this is. And you picked the best whiskey I'd never even thought of, and it is the Signet. It does remind me of a lot of that bottle, minus more of the thicker, nice chocolate.
Strawberry. There's a little strawberry thing in here and there.
Like hazelnuts were better with the Signet. The Signet's a better. You could taste and what's ironic to me is, even though the Signet is an NAS, you can taste the age better in the Signet than you can in this.
No doubt. Well, I mean, yeah, I totally agree. And the reason the Signet is an NAS is because they're mixing fucking they're mixing 3-year-old whiskey with like 30-year-old whiskey, and they don't want to put a 3-year-old age statement on that. Like, the Signet's weird in that sense. Like, that is the most un-NAS whiskey you can get. But like, this is like the Signet without the depth. Like, I get the coffee note in the dry bitterness here, but it has none of that roastedness. It has none of that depth.
Exactly. Yeah.
You get dark chocolate, but it doesn't go anywhere. I get orange, like an orange chocolate thing, but like, it just stays stagnant. There's no extra surge in the development. There's no. It's just kind of flat.
Yeah. I don't think he's upset.
I'm not upset at all. No.
I think he appreciates the fact that he can try a new whiskey that he's never tried before.
Totally. I mean, yeah. Don't be disillusioned. Don't miss the point here at all. We do this show. Telex and I spend our money on bottles, and sometimes we buy things that are good, and sometimes we don't. I mean, last week I was peddling to Telex a 17-year-old Deanston Organic, and we were both like, this isn't very good. I mean,
I felt bad, but I was like, man, this is rough. But now this is my equalizer with that.
Right. I mean, this is going to happen. I mean, we're not like wedded to the bottles that we have, just to make that clear. And I'm not saying that I'm going, but like we're like, part of the, like, we're doing this because we like we're on the journey together. We're gonna try shit. Some of us we're gonna spend money on some things that we don't end up liking, and like it's part of the gig.
And that's the thing. It's like I just got a new Ardmore. I would have never bought an Ardmore distillery bottle that's a 20-year-old, and I didn't even know it was going to be peated. And I got it, and I'm like actually thankful I took the gamble just to try it. And I know Eric's going to be thankful that he gets to try that, because he wouldn't normally probably go out and shell money on a 20-year-old Ardmore, because it's just crazy if you don't know the distillery. But this is why we're doing it for you guys. We're going to be looking at distilleries that you probably never even heard of. Like we'll be looking at Glengarry, which a lot of you probably haven't tried. Glen Spey. We're going to be looking at like things like
Did you say we're doing Glengarry? Because you just got me excited.
Oh yeah, I mean we're going to be looking at different distilleries that some of them are going to be horrible and some of them are going to be great. So we're doing this journey with you guys so that you guys don't have to go through the pain that we're going through. That's the whole point of the channel.
Cohen's my boy. Dude. He knows what's up. I think it's good to explain this for the sake of context. But yeah, like. You know, if you tuned in last week, man, I mean, I was do you know how excited I was, Telex? I remember I texted you and I'm like, dude, look what I got. Fucking PX, organic, non-chill filtered, natural color, 49% Dean Stand. Are you kidding me? And like, I have not been able to love that whiskey no matter how hard I tried. My review was tepid. I finally did a review. I did a live thing when I uncorked it, and I was just like, why does this not good? It happens, you know?
That's how I felt about this exact bottle.
That's exactly how I feel about this. This is freaking... Dude, come on, man.
I'm enjoying like little elements of the 21, but it's got some issues that Eric is going to dive into and tell you guys what he thinks about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to go into final thoughts here. I mean, Telex. So, and just a reminder, because like you know, it is worth noting. I do incorporate cost into my scores, so like I usually will add 2.5. Or minus 2.5, or I'm sorry, 2.5. I will add 0.25 or minus 0.25 based on cost as an element of my review. Telex doesn't do that, so like keep that in mind when I drop my scores.
This might be a negative.
So Telex, what is the average cost on the Auchentoshan 21?
I'll tell you that I spent $200 on it, but let me do a quick wine searcher poll, because that's like the best way to do kind of like a global, you know, kind of look-see of what you get. So let me look at the old Auchentoshan 21 and their little poll deal. It ranges from like 180 up from there to like 250-ish, and I would not. I mean, I feel like I mean, the place that I get whiskey from, Petite Cellars, has usually got pretty good prices. That's why I go a half hour to get whiskey from these guys, because they don't deliver and they don't ship. But for $200, it was a really good price on it. But it can be high as 250, 230 to 250, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Okay.
It's 128 pounds right now
on let's
Whiskey Exchange.
We'll ballpark average this at 215.
Yeah.
Okay, final thoughts here. Auchentoshan is a very distinct palate in that you need to like and be prepared for bitterness. There is bitterness in this whiskey. There is bitterness in both of these. It happens at the same time on the back end of the development. You have to like a bitter whiskey to enjoy this. This 21, look, it is not amazing. As a whiskey in its own right, if somebody just poured this for me and didn't tell me what it was, yeah, it's not bad. I don't particularly gravitate towards this style with the level of bitterness that I'm getting in here. That said, that doesn't mean anything that it's bad. But because it has such a unique profile, which for a distillery like Auchentoshan, which is supposedly triple distilled, which is supposedly a drink for the masses, the fact that their whiskey has such a bitterness and like kind of inaccessibility and like lack of easy enjoyment is strange to me. I just expected a little bit more in that sense. Yeah, I mean, so at $200, what is comparable? For about $40 less, you could get a Glengoyne 21, which I think is light years more enjoyable than this and more complex as an alternative. That is also ex-bourbon, ex-sherry.
Good offering on the
Yeah.
alternate there, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I'm right because it might be all ex-sherry, but I'm pretty sure it's ex-bourbon, ex-sherry. If not, it's all sherry, but it doesn't matter because the flavor palette will give you something similar to this, and you do get some of the bourbon notes. This is a forgettable whiskey. I think when you're looking to buy something on a higher end, so if you're going to be spending some serious money, it is light years better than that American Oak. But I'm not sure that's saying much. I can't say that I would recommend that, folks in our community spend your hard-earned money on this. I can't say it's going to give you anything that you couldn't get better somewhere else. I'm going to sit restfully and perhaps bullishly at a 2 out of 5 on this.
All right, man. Wow, it's a really tough. This is one of the toughest reviews I think I've ever had to do on a. I mean, it's just funny because you think 21 years, you'd have enough time to refine a lot of this stuff and fix it and do things to make it better, and it's just not much above average, I'd say, really across the board. I appreciate the nose and the palate and the finish to an extent, but how much above average is it? And that's what's really rough about this one.
It's like this is what you should expect out of the 12, not the 21.
Yeah, the only thing that stands out for me on this particular bottle that I do enjoy, that some people might like a lot and some people might not like very much at all, is this is very close to a spice bomb when it comes to cinnamon. There's a lot of high level cinnamon and apple in this. But unless you're a huge cinnamon apple fan, and I'm talking like a big time, it doesn't really have. The mouth coat's okay, but it's not. It's almost not even as good as the American Oak mouth coat, which is saying something. It's weird. It's like they upped the ABV, but they didn't really up the mouth coat very much. It's got some nice fruits in there. It's got some nice spice. But after $200 and after 21 years, all I have is averageness, and that's where I'm frustrated. It's very average whiskey, and that's why with and without water, it's like I'm going to do a quick finding with a couple of drops. But yeah, I mean, it intensified some of the spice I remember a little bit, which is what you expect in a whiskey. But the nose was better neat. It brings out more spice, and like Garrick said, I think he nailed it with this becomes a very drying whiskey from the sherry cask, but that's really all you get is the dryness of the whiskey. You don't really get the beautiful things that you expect from a good sherry cask, and that's not here. I do think they had decent bourbon casks with this, but a 21-year flat ex-bourbon cask whiskey, and I don't think this is first fill like the first one was supposedly 21-year. Let me see something. Ex-bourbon and Spanish ex-sherry casks is all they tell me. North American ex-bourbon and Spanish ex-sherry casks. They're not even first fill, so that's another tough deal with this. Man, I would be a little bit I'm a little more lenient than Eric on his score, only because I really think this is just an average whiskey, and for me, average is 3. So I'm going to go a flat 3 out of 5. I think on this one.
Right on.
Just, I mean, it's enjoyable, but man, for $200, like, you know, I think you were right. I think the Glengoyne 20, what was it, the 21 or the?
Yeah. No, and I think you're right, Telex. And like, you know, before we go finals, like I think I did. So here's the thing. While you were talking, I realized I finished the dram, and it was okay. I'm gonna bump up to 2.25 on this. But yeah, I think everything I said stands, and I basically completely agree with you. So 3.0 from Telex, 2.25 from Malt on the Auchentoshan 21, and then 2 and 175 on the American Oak Auchentoshan. Not great scores for Auchentoshan. I don't think, folks, you should be expecting another Auchentoshan show from Telex and I anytime soon.
I've definitely had my fill. I have a question for you.
Yeah,
I have a question for you and the people out there, and I'll start with Eric first. Is there any? And this is a genuine question that I'm pleading with you guys to find me something that is triple distilled, but that is very well done and very good.
Oh, I mean that's Scotch.
That's anything that's
Hazelburn.
That's there you go. Now,
I mean, there's. I mean, I have, and we're going to do this eventually. I haven't opened it yet. I have an 18-year-old cast strength Jameson that is triple this. I can only imagine that's going to be good. I don't know for a fact.
But I hope so, yeah.
I don't think the triple distillation is what's doing it here. What I think, because, I mean, there's a lot of good Irish whiskey. Yeah, Hazelburn, Cohen, right, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of good Irish. I mean, not every Irish whiskey is triple distilled. I mean, we're not, you know, pot still like Redbreast 12 and stuff. That's a different animal. I mean, when we're talking about like your Chicano, like basic level stuff, I mean, I still think some of those just bring way more to the table than this. I
wonder what is Hazelburn doing that Auchentoshan is not doing is what I'm trying to figure out. Because if you can triple distill a whiskey and do it like with, and I'll agree with you guys, the Hazelburn 14-year Oloroso is one of my favorite whiskeys of all whiskeys. I mean, it's my go-to if I want a good Oloroso sherry and I don't want to go crazy. I want 14 years.
I think part of it is that they're bottling it at a higher ABV.
Exactly.
Coming from Springbank. Third, they're not putting color and chill filtration. Well, I think the flavor impact is marginal, but still has some effect. I think the bigger part is they're using better casks, man. Like they're just using better casks. Dude, these casks, I'm sorry, like this is Glenfarclas core range level casks, in my opinion. Like this just have you ever had a Glenfarclas 25, like the standard range? I mean, it's banal, you know, like the reason is like their casks suck. They don't, you have to pay a ton of money to get the good Glenfarclas.
The only thing about Glenfarclas 25 that I appreciate that a lot of people probably don't like very much maybe is and it's kind of weird because I'm kind of torn between is it a good note or a bad note, is the sulfuric nature of the Glenfarclas 25. That's the only thing that's kind of weird.
Right? Does this have character? Like, what is the character?
This does not have character, no.
It just has bitterness. It's just bitterness. So that's the character of Auchentoshan. A triple distilled Lowland whiskey, their characteristic is bitterness.
No, I hear you. I agree completely with you. Yeah. I'm trying to educate myself basically on how do I find, other than Hazelburn, is there any other good triple distilled whiskey? I know that Andrew Page was saying that it's the only triple distilled whiskey that is exciting for him, but anybody else find something?
Hey man, there's good Jamesons, there's good Powers, there's good Bushmills if you go higher ABV. I mean, a 40% Bushmill 16, I think which is ex-bourbon, ex-sherry, is much more exciting than this.
I think Cohen nailed it with this one. I forgot about the Canub Castle that you gave me.
The Castle. Oh, dude. And I have dude. Remember that Napo Castle 14 we did?
I won't forget that. That was actually pretty damn well done whiskey.
So I have two other ones. I have a 16 Napo Castle, and we have to do this sooner than later.
Oh, man.
I had this thing sitting in the vault for a while. Napo Castle 12-year-old Barolo cask. This is bottled, non-chill filtered. There's only 1,200 of them. Triple distilled, non-chill. I believe this is, what is the ABV on this bad boy?
How the hell did you find that?
I bought this a couple of years ago. I just totally forgot I had it.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, 46%.
Oh, it's the magic button.
And guess what? At least $100 cheaper than this Auchentoshan.
Holy shit! $100 for that whiskey?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
It might have been less than 100. It was like 75, I think. I have a 16-year-old Napo Castle as well, which was like 85.
Damn, dude, that Napo Castle was no joke.
We did the 14, and the Napo Castle 14 is fucking killer.
I love that whiskey for just a straightforward, great tasting. Bam, pour it, done.
Yep.
The apricots on that shit, dude, lasted all fucking day. I'll never forget that whiskey.
You know what? Speaking of Telex, I'm just gonna pour some right now.
Oh, you bastard! I don't have any to pour.
I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I want to compare. I want to do. I have the taste of this Auchentoshan 21 in my mouth. I want to do a live comparison. So, triple distilled. This is a $60 bottle at max.
Wow.
It is 46% ABV, non-chill filtered, triple distilled, twin wood, ex-bourbon, ex-sherry, Napo Castle, 14 years old. So it's 7 years younger, higher ABV, non-chill filtered, same type of cask maturation. And it's just...
There you go. If you never want to see this Auchentoshan reviewed again, please consider joining us on Patreon at Muser Whiskey. I like that. That was good.
I mean, it's the same level of texture. The finish just goes on so much longer. And again, the surges. You're getting the surges of flavor. Apple, cinnamon, nutmeg. It's going on. No bitterness at all. At all.
You gotta have that fruit too. The apricot. Is it the apricot bottle?
Yes.
Oh man.
This is the one you think of. It's the bourbon and Oloroso. I mean, this is $120 to $140 cheaper on average than the Glengoyne 21 or the fucking Auchentoshan 21. It's higher ABV. It's non-chill filtered. And flavor-wise, it'll go head-to-head with any of those. And it beats it. It's just not nearly as bitter. There's so much more complexity. It's fucking delicious.
And forgive my ignorance, but that's a Irish whiskey. That's from Jameson, right?
Napo I mean, like everything's from Jameson, I think. Napo Castle. So I think Napo Castle, I think they source it. They're blenders. They buy their stuff from Cooley.
Okay.
So like they're not actually distilling anything, they're just blending it. But yeah, this is ex-bourbon, ex-sherry. Yeah, I think
the price. It's for the prices. It's definitely no brainer because that was much, much, much better for $100. Man, I got to think of getting that before a lot of other whiskeys for $100.
This isn't even $100. This is a $55 bottle.
Oh wow! Never mind. Even better.
Potomac Wine and Spirits has this right now for $50.
Oh damn!
And you can get the 16 for like 75, 80.
Is that? Do they have a 21 or 25 available?
That I don't know. But
that would be
out because Napo Castle is straight up killing it.
Let me see. KNAPP
OGUE Castle.
OG. There we go.
This is so good. I'm so sad that this bottle is this low because, like, I'm going to have to get another. And I do have the 16, and I haven't opened the 16 yet. But they also have a 12 that's amazing.
Let me ask you a question. If you had an option to get a Napo Castle single malt Irish whiskey for 214. That's 21 years. A 21-year Napo Castle Irish, the Irish single malt. Would you get it for 214, or is that too much, you think?
That seems reasonable.
I'm just curious at
That
some of the
very reasonable. I mean, yeah, that seems very reasonable. I think either way, like this 14 is better than the Auchentoshan 21. This is better than the Glengoyne 21.
Oh, Flaviar has it for 200.
I would buy that. It's 46% non-chill filtered. Are you fucking kidding? I would do it.
Let me see if it has.
Oh, it's definitely non-chill filtered. They don't chill filter their shit.
Nice. I like to hear that. Hint, Glendronach. Big hint to Glendronach on that one.
And this is still. But look, Tug, you see that big gold bar right there?
There you go. Non-chill filtered. I love it.
Non-chill filtered.
46% on this 21-year.
Yeah, I would buy that for sure at 200. For sure.
That's a beautiful ABV. It's a beautiful craft. I would agree. If I find that, I might have to pull the trigger on that one, actually.
Yeah, and we're going to have to do this one, too, at some point. I have this mother just sitting in the wings.
Oh, 16 Twinwood. What is the Twinwood?
Well, the Twinwood is the same as the 14, except this is 16 years old.
Nice.
So
even more apricots.
Yeah, so this one is, again, I love how they say it here, and then they say in the description that it's non-chill filtered. Look how much darker this is compared to the 14. This is the 14.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. Is that sherry?
Yeah, they're both bourbon and sherry.
I wonder why that is so darker compared, because if it's
I think it's got more. So here's what it says: 14 years in bourbon barrels, and then finished for an additional 21 months in Oloroso sherry. So this is 21 months in Oloroso sherry. This one I think is more 50-50. No, this one is 14 years single malt and 2. So this is 50-50. This is 50-50 bourbon sherry. This is more bourbon and then sherry, more sherry finished. So it says sherry cask finished here. Yeah. But again, this one's only 43%.
Interesting.
But it is non-chill filtered.
Nice.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to open it right now.
There you go, man.
What the fuck? What are we doing?
Let's just see what we can find. And don't forget, guys, we'll also be doing a Liquid show here on the 22nd. So stay tuned to that. Liquid show coming up later on.
Let's see how this bad boy stands out.
Sounds good to me.
That 14 is a high bar. I'm a little interested, given that the finish, this is a little bit different. This one is much more bourbon. It's less ABV, and it's more of a sherry finish. I'm gonna give you the solo here. Okay, so impromptu tasting, uncorking, Napo Castle 16. You've heard Telex and I gawk over the 14.
Oh, yeah.
The difference here, the 14-year-old is 50-50 split bourbon sherry maturation. This, mostly bourbon and 21 months in Oloroso sherry. This one's 43%. That one's 46. 16 years old. That one's 14. The nose smells amazing. Rich, toffee, dark fruits, dried fruits. This is also twin wood, so I'm going right to the taste. Oh. Uh-huh. Yeah, Telex, you need this one. Oh, man. So much richer. This is about $80 too, by the way. Ooh. Apricot, as you were saying earlier. Dried fruits. Dried fruit. Nice milk chocolate, dark chocolate mix, but it's working really well with cherry, orange. Oh, dude. Telex. This one's coming in the next box, bro. You need this.
Even though they reduced the ABV, which I don't understand, it makes sense. This is fantastic.
I think I want to have some.
Dude, you were talking about the apricot thing earlier. It's here in spades.
That's what I like to hear. That note in that 14 was insanely good, and if it's even better in the 16, holy shit, that's got to be great.
This one is just like heavier. It's heavier on the mouthfeel despite the lower ABV. It's chocolate. It's more chocolate. It's more roasted coffee, but it's all balanced well. There's good balance. It's not overly bitter. It's not overly citric. Oh, dude. Yo.
Are you going to score it?
I mean, uncorkings are rough. Preliminary score on
I'm just messing with you.
If I was going to give it a prelim score, which I usually will,
you gotta hold on. You gotta go to Malt Muser's channel to take a look at the next review on this one.
Maybe this will be the next review, dude. This is fantastic.
I had a feeling that that 14 really surprised me of how great the craft and stuff was.
It was the first. Oh my god, this is better than the 14.
I was gonna say it looked like it was gonna be a notch above, which is kind of crazy because that 14 was already pretty damn good.
It's a full notch above. I would actually almost say it's a notch and a half above.
There you go. I love that shirt, by the way. I love that Black Sabbath shirt, man. I haven't seen that in a while. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, dude. Little volume 4. Can't go wrong.
Let's see if you remember what this is from.
Wish You Were Here.
There you go. That didn't take him 1 second. I love it, man. Perfect taste. You're the best taste.
Probably my second favorite album of theirs after Animals or Metal. I don't know. It's in the top 3, though.
Did you just see Roger Waters give the finger to Facebook on his thing? That was pretty classic Roger Waters on that one, dude.
Yeah.
Sorry going on a tangent, but I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, I'm totally there with you. Okay, Telex, this has to be in the next sample box I give you. This is, as weird as this sounds, even though it's much more bourbon than sherry, you wouldn't know it from the taste. It's richer, it's creamier, it's amazing, even though they dropped the ABV by 3%. It's like they did it intentionally. They didn't do it because they were trying to sell more whiskey. They did it because they knew at 46% it might just not give the equilibrium balance of beauty that I'm getting off of this. This is fantastic.
And that's the thing, guys. Don't think that if somebody drops from like 46 to 43, that's a bad thing, because sometimes these guys know what they're doing, and they know with a drop of water at 43 versus 46 that you're going to get that perfect experience that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So that happens.
The only thing I would say is, like, it'd be nice if the finish was a little longer. It's about a medium finish, but, like, again, this is a very, like, caramel. Oh my god! I mean, to compare it to that American Oak that we were just drinking, it's just like laughable.
There you go. And it's not just a laugh. It's not just a chuckle. It's a laugh in your face. Ha ha! It's a ha ha charade you are, if you know what I mean. There.
Yeah, it's a guttural belly laugh.
Bringing back the Roger Waters. This is ha ha charade you are, animals, baby.
Yeah, man. You're gonna get a sample. That you have to have a sample. This is better than I thought it was gonna be. I was a little skeptical because of the ABV, and I was like, I don't know. That 14 is nearly perfect. This is exponentially delicious.
Yeah, sometimes these guys know what they're doing when it comes to the ABV. I mean, I'm more pro 46-48, but if the master distiller is like, you know what, I think we should take this to this level and see what happens, I'm not opposed to that. If it's as long as it's at least 40 to 43 and they do the casks right, I can hang with that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Well, I really appreciate everybody coming out. We got to wrap this up. But I really, really had a lot of fun as usual, man. And sorry for the Auchentoshan, back and forth.
Man, we're doing the due diligence, man. We're workers in the light, man. We're taking the punches. We are the bulletproof vest on the proverbial whiskey buyer, so they don't have to like spend too much money on other things. And you know what? We hit way more than we miss, man. And that's what's so fun about it. So I appreciate everybody hanging out.
We got 3 new great distilleries we're looking at the next 3 shows: Linkwood, Speyburn, and Old Pulteney. So take a look at the Linkwood 12 Flora and Fauna we'll be starting with. And then Malt got us a 19-year-old independent bottle. We'll take a look at that. That's going to be fun. And then we got a Speyburn 10 and 25. And then the Old Pulteney 15 and 18 we'll be looking at. New stuff.
Hell yeah. So before you guys head out the door, smash that thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber yet, what are you thinking? Shoot Telex a subscription. And if you're feeling like you got the energy, open another window, subscribe to Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews. I will have a happy hour next week before Telex's show, or Telex and I's show, to get everybody primed and ready. Tasty Tuesday is on lock, and it's owned by Telex and I. So you all, we appreciate you immensely for the support, for the chat. And Telex, my friend, I will catch you next week when we dive into Linkwood.
And before you go, Eric, I think he's got a good point. If we look at the 12 and the 3-wood, I think you might have a different opinion of the Auchentoshan distillery. I'm not saying
You have a different opinion, or me?
It's not a 360, but it's at least a 180.
Well, I mean, a 360 just brings me back to where I was. A 180 is.
We will eventually down the road. I'm not saying it's going to be anytime soon by any stretch of the imagination, but
I mean, we should do it. We should do it.
Down the road, slightly down, maybe a year down the road, we'll take a look at the 12 and the 3.
Well, there's a long road ahead. I mean, we have a nice. I mean, Telex and I have shows set up for the next 4 months, so y'all are going to be in good hands with that. And we're looking forward to sharing our 2 cents about whiskey with everybody. We got fun stuff coming up, and yeah, maybe Auchentoshan peers its head. Maybe it redeems itself. It's going to be Auchentoshan Show 2 Electric Boogaloo. It'll happen, perhaps.
Down the road. Way down the road.
Yeah. Way down the road.
No, but I think I would love to get Eric a sample of the 3-wood. So if any of you guys have I don't have a bottle myself, I would give him it to him like now. But if you have a bottle, an option for 3-wood that you have sitting out, please send one to Eric, because I'd love him to try it and see what he thinks and compare that to the other Auchentoshan experiences he's had. Because I think the 3-wood would actually open his eyes maybe to the promise of a future Auchentoshan, possibly. I don't know.
The Whiskey Tech is responsible for the paid content of this advertisement.
I don't have one. Daniel, thank you so much for asking. I do have a site. I set it up a long time ago, just in case, but I never had a big enough following for this, because I don't spend a lot of time with editing and all that with the videos. So please send it to Malt Muser. I'd be happy for him to get a lot of that. So he helps me with a lot of this behind the scenes and helping out with bottles and stuff. So please send it that way. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Linkwood show next week, Telex. This is going to be a lot of fun. And sweet, my man, Andrew Page. Let's chat about it. Get at me. I have a review dropping Friday of Wilderness Trail single barrel proof rye. Check that out, folks. If you're on Patreon, you will get that review tomorrow, because you get early access. And Telex, have a great week, my friend, and I'll catch you next week where we are going to dive into Linkwood.
Yeah, I really appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Even for these, we're gonna tackle some of the lesser known whiskey distilleries. So hang with us. We'll tell you. I mean, I guarantee you that you're gonna see some gems along the way. Like Dalhuane is great. Ben Rennes is great. Blair Athol is great. Inchgower is great. There's a lot of not known distilleries that we're going to tackle over the years, and you guys should hang in with us, and I think you'll have a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, liquid is pretty light, but whiskey, but much, much better than tonight. I have to agree with Mr. Cohen on that one.
For sure.
See you for now, man. Have a good one, and thanks so much for hanging out for Tasty Tuesday.
Peace, brother.
Peace.
Peace.